Hello everyone, I'm Tim from Tim's PC and I build custom PCs to suit anyone's needs or budget. I also live stream all of my build and repairs for transparency and educational purposes. So if you would like to get an awesome new PC and you'd like to see it get put together here live, send me a message today. Alrighty, so today we're going to be building a 3090 rig. So for this particular rig, it's going to be used for a 3-screen racing sim. So we needed a graphics card that was definitely going to keep up when it comes to running multi-monitor setups and stuff at decent frame rates. So that's why we've gone with the 3090 here today. So in this case we've got the Galax 3090. This has a really beefy cooler on it. So it's not the cheapest 3090 that you can get, but it's not the most expensive one either. So basically it's decent value for money as far as 3090s goes, and it's helped keep the cost down a little bit for the customer. So we'll put this one to the side because it's going to be the last thing that we install anyway. So we'll have a look at the rest of this build. So for our motherboard here, we've gone with the MPG Z490 Gaming Plus. This is a nice board from MSI. It has multiple M2 slots. It has, 5 PCIe slots. Bit of RGB on the board as well, but we'll have a look at this board in a bit more detail when we unbox it. We've got an i9 10850K CPU. So this is a decent 10-core 20-thread CPU, really good for gaming, so that will keep up in this setup. For our cooler here, we've gone with a Corsair H115i, which is one of their 280mm radiator liquid coolers. So this particular one is a decent performer, and like I said, it's a 280mm, not a 140, so just because it's two fans, don't get it confused with the smaller 240mm radiators. Let's have a look at these comments. Alright, sweet, we haven't got any comments yet, so that's fine, I'll just keep moving on. Okay, so we've got a crucial P1 1TB SSD here, and then we've also got a full 4TB on this hard drive as well. So we're going to have plenty of storage space on this computer. I'll put that down here. We've also got this 850 watt 80 plus gold power supply. This is a Gigabyte P850GM. So it's a modular power supply, 80 plus gold rated. It puts out 850 watts, or sorry, 849.6 watts on the 12 volt rail, to be completely accurate there. So it's what I would call a true 850 watt power supply. And then we've also got 32 gigabytes of Aorus RGB memory, 3200 megahertz CL16. So really good, and good value for money right now. You might have these on special. So that pretty much sums up our build, other than our case here. So this is an Antac case. It is, I never remember the case model numbers, eh? I remember the case and how much it costs and what its configuration is, but I never seem to remember the actual model numbers of them. Really bad at that. I remember all the other model numbers pretty well, but cases, you'll have to, if you really want to know, send me a message and I'll send you exactly what this case is. The box isn't in the room with me right now, so I can't just reach my head around and look for it. So we will keep moving. So we can put the power supply over here with the case. We'll also put a hard drive over here with the case, because that's going to be mounted on the case. Now we're going to have these, our CPU, our cooler, and so all this stuff is going to be mounted onto the motherboard. So let's have a look at this motherboard. First I'll just lift up this tray, make sure we get everything that we need out of here. And 2 screws. It's a MSI Go Faster badge. not missing anything, no. SATA cables. Okay, so I don't have my trusty moderator here with me today, so I'm gonna have to. I don't have a remote for the camera zoom, so just bear with me. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so this is our board here, the MPG Z490 Gaming Plus from MSI. So we'll go around the board and I'll point out some of the features that are on this motherboard. So starting up here, so we have a 12-pin CPU power connector. So it's got an 8-pin and a 4-pin. So if your power supply only has the 8-pin, you can just plug in the 8-pin. You don't need those other 4. That's only to support higher level overclocking. Not sure what that header is there. That's J1. It's not the clear CMOS. Clear CMOS is down here. I'd have to look that up. If you're curious, send me a message. So we've got a CPU fan header up here. We've got our 4 DIMM slots here, so dual channel memory. We've got a 5-volt RGB header, so the 4-1 pin. And we've got a pump fan and system fan header here, so we're up to 3 fan headers. We've got our 24-pin ATX power connector for the motherboard. We've got our USB-C, we've got a USB 3 and a USB-C. We've also got another USB 3 here, orientated a bit differently. We've also got SATA ports there, and we've got another 2 fan headers down here. And we've got our front panel connectors, Thunderbolt, 2 more SATA ports, trusted platform module, USB and USB 2, and we've got a 5-volt RGB header, 12-volt RGB header. We've got our COM header there, 2 more fan headers, a 12-volt RGB header, and our front panel audio. So as you can see, this motherboard comes equipped with a lot of features there. So moving around, let's have a look at the rear I/O. So we've got a PS2 port, 2 USB 2s, display port and HDMI port. We've got 3 USB 3.2s, 1 as a Type C. We've got 2.5 gigabit Ethernet on this motherboard, and we've got our surround and Sony Philips digital interface or optical audio output there on the motherboard. And so obviously this bottom part of the motherboard here, this is all dedicated to sound. That's why we always have the sound parts of the motherboard on this end of the I/O shield at the back there, because this part of the motherboard down here is dedicated to sound. So these capacitors here, these little gold water tower looking things, these are the audio capacitors. I was going to point out which one's the audio chip, but I can't make out any brand names or writing. That's okay, doesn't really matter. We've got another fan header here, so that brings the total on this board to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So full 8 fan headers on this motherboard. So that's pretty good. So the final thing that we haven't looked at is our M.2 and PCIe system. So we've got 2 M.2 slots. We've got a PCIe X16, then we've got 3 PCIe X1s, and then we've got this slot here, which is actually an X8 slot. A lot of the time they're only X4 and X16 length, but this is X8 and X16 length. So I guess that's kind of handy if you wanted to run 2 graphics cards. Not that you're going to be able to take advantage of, 16 plus 8 lanes at once on an Intel CPU, but cross that bridge, right? So anyway, that's the basic features of this motherboard here. So, you know, as a general rule, you've got a little bit of heat shielding over our VRMs, our MOSFETs and everything that's up here. So, and a little fun fact, I'll just walk you through some of this stuff. So this power connection here, this powers the CPU, but it also powers all this stuff here around it, because everything around here is intimately connected to the CPU. There is, for example, there's a maths coprocessor and there's an arithmetic logic unit. So the CPU has to be taught how to do maths. Without that arithmetic logic unit, it can't actually function. So, and our memory, or what people call RAM, that's these slots here. This is always located right next to the CPU. The memory and the CPU have a very intimate relationship as well. You can't have one without the other. If you try and start up a computer with a CPU and no memory installed, it won't actually boot. It won't turn on, it won't post a signal. You have to have RAM and you have to have a CPU. You don't have to have a hard drive or a graphics card, provided your CPU has onboard graphics. They're the fundamental two things that need to go in this board to make it work. And the RAM is, or the memory has a very, very high speed connection to the CPU. And when you turn your computer on, and when you open up a program or a game or load Windows or any of that stuff, when they say loading, it's taking it from a hard drive or a solid state drive and it's putting it in RAM. Because when it's in RAM, then you can use the program in real time. You know, it's the kind of thing that you know, once that program loads, it's fine, it's nice and responsive. That's because all the information's in RAM and the CPU can access it. Like you can consider it almost instant. So that's kind of why you'll always see this same kind of arrangement with the motherboards. But anyway, that's the basics of this board. Bit of a rundown there, so a little bit of stuff on this motherboard that you won't necessarily find on cheaper boards. But now it's time to just get started and get prepping this motherboard. Can I elevate it just a little bit? Be good if I could do this. Anyway. Alright, let's start with the first thing on top of the pile, which is our CPU. So I'll try to remain in the actual camera view. Alrighty, so with our Intel CPUs, they're actually pretty solid. Not much can go wrong with these things because we don't actually have pins on the bottom of them. We've just got these touch pads. You can see them reflecting in the light there. They're just completely smooth and flat, so there's nothing to break. They're nice and easy like that. So when we install our CPUs, there's two little notches on our Intel CPUs. And when we open the socket, we'll see there's two little notches in the socket. So all we need to do is line up the little notches on the chip, little notches in the socket. And we just want to get the CPU as close to the socket as we can. And we just want to let it drop in. Try to drop it in from about 1 millimeter above the socket. And it will just fall in, and then you can just check your corners and make sure that it's sitting in there nicely and that it's not sticking up on one of the edges or anything. And once that's done, we can press down and we've mounted our CPU, and now that's pretty much safe. So you'll notice this bit of plastic came off. This is something that needs to go back on the CPU socket if ever you have a warranty claim or something, because when you have a warranty claim, if you don't have this, they will essentially just reject it straight away and say it wasn't packaged correctly. You voided your warranty if you don't include that, if you send it back. So it's good to just keep it around, like put it to the side somewhere, and ideally in your motherboard box, and stash it away, just in case you do need it. Obviously with motherboards, if something goes wrong, depending on the value of the motherboard, it's probably easier just to buy a new one than bother going through a warranty claim with it, because you'll be without your computer for a while and all that. You need something in the interim. It's just painful. Alrighty, so we go with our memory, or our DIMMs as it's technically called, or dual inline memory module. That's why they've got the little dividers halfway up the chip. As you can see there, the little notch in the middle there, it's actually dual inline memory modules. So there's two on the one chip. Got a bit of plastic to take off there. I hate all the plastic, eh? And so to put our RAM in, or our DIMMs, it's really easy. Just line them up in the socket, and then just nice equal pressure on both sides. You got to pull these little tabs out while you're doing it. There we go. So when we're installing all 4 sticks, it's really easy. You just fill up all 4 slots. If you're just installing 2 sticks, you'd really want to be installing them in the first one on this side, and then the third one, not right next to each other like that, because if they're right next to each other like that, they're in the same channel. You want to utilize both channels, or dual channel mode with your RAM. Go. There we go. Beautiful. So now I'm going to put these M2 screws in, even on this bottom slot that we're not going to use, just in case Adam ever wants to use it. Put in another SSD. Yeah, it's a good idea to put that other screw in place while you're doing this. Alrighty. So on the bottom of these heat spreaders, there's a bit of plastic. We need to remove that, because these actually get quite warm. Excellent. Oh, I might want to actually put the M2 drive in before I screw it down. That's generally recommended. So with our M2 drives, I'll show you these guys just quickly. So this is an M.2 NVMe SSD, about the size of an American sticker gum. You can get these up to 8 terabytes capacity, and they're up to 8 times faster than traditional SSDs. Don't need any cables, they plug straight into the motherboard like this. Screw that down like that. And that just sits away under there. Excellent. So now we've got most of the stuff on our motherboard prepped there. We'll turn our attention now to the cooler. So in this case, we're going to mount the cooler onto the roof. Alrighty. So here's our 140mm fans there, the big ones. Here's our big radiator. Well, here's our mixed bag of bolts. Here's our Intel backplate, the rest of that's AMD. Alrighty. Well, I'm just going to mount this backplate to the motherboard quickly. There we go. Yeah, that will be how we'll mount it, essentially like that. And so the reason I'm looking at that is because I want to make sure that I'm orientating the fan cables in the right direction. I want them running towards the back of the case, so I can run them out the back out of sight. I don't want anyone to see the fan cables and stuff running off these coolers and stuff like that. We want to try to conceal all that as much as possible. also got to consider the direction that you want the fans to blow. Get all that done right and thought about properly when you build it, you'll save yourself a heap of headaches moving things around and changing things later. Guess it's exciting when you're building a PC, but you just gotta calm that excitement a little bit and just think about what you're doing. Hate these little twist ties. Sweet. Okay, so take this box out of the way. Yeah, this is definitely the boring part of building PCs, is screwing in fans. It's just time consuming. Nothing fun about it. It's not challenging or anything like that. It's just boring. At least we don't have a 360. Okay, so that is looking good. So now all we need to do is mount some stuff to this motherboard. Alrighty. And so with this Corsair cooler that we're installing, there's no need to apply thermal paste. It's pre-applied on the bottom of the block. As you can see there, a nice even coverage. Alrighty. I just go corner to corner, lightly tighten, excellent. Goddamn plastic. Plastic everywhere, right? Okay. So we don't need any of the others. We will need some mounting screws later, so I'll just leave them around there. Push that over here. And now we can turn our attention to the case. So let's have a look what we got here. More plastic. Okay, yep, this feels very much like a Corsair 4000X. Is that it inside and oh, this will be front? Yes. Go. It's only one hard drive tray, that's okay. At least we've got a hard drive tray. Is it toolless? It's semi-toolless. That doesn't even make sense. Leaves you the capacity to put another screw in, but that's feeling pretty good. That's solid as. I'm not touching that. Okay, so we've got ARGB fans in the front pre-installed. Got this controller with an addressable header. Is that fans as well? Yep, fan and RGB controller. so we've got a little bit of stuff around there. But let's get our power supply going on. Alrighty. More plastic. Pointless plastic. Okay, so as we got a modular power supply here, we've got these cables in the bags. So we need to took these out, need to have a look at what we got and what we need, and we need to install them on the motherboard. Did I say motherboard? I meant power supply, of course. So obviously we need the RTX power for the motherboard. It's going to be pretty important. So we've got some CPU power here. We've got one 4+4, aka 8-pin connector. It's technically a 4+4 because I can split it into two. It's actually and that just there we go. So we'll plug that one in there, and then we'll get this another, yes, yeah. Because we've got a 12-pin CPU power connector on this board, so we're going to use 2 cables so we can plug those other 4 in. So we'll just split them. We need some graphics card and we need some SATA power as well. Okay. Get some SATA here, and the rest will be out of use. So where can I stash these? I don't have anywhere to stash them, so I might just install them and tuck them away. those are the cables that we need. And these are the cables we don't need. Sweet. So in this case it allows you to mount the power supply both up or down. So if you needed an extra exhaust fan in your case, you could use the power supply fan like that. Okay. So we've got some cables that we need around the back here now. So let's mount our motherboard and our cooler into this case. What was that? Oh, so we've got another fan here, but it's not RGB. Oh well, I guess that's kind of handy. Here's another RGB fan. Okay, let's get an RGB fan going on. Okay. So now we can mount our motherboard. We just need to make sure that our offsets are in the correct position. And because this is a mid-tower case, they are. Don't fall over.
Sorry. Sweet as, I was just checking some stuff there. Alrighty, getting there. We've nearly got that cooler mounted. Sweet as. Alrighty.
Oh, I know what I dropped.
So just got 9 bolts to go in now, and then we can start wiring everything up. So this all looks sweet when it's done. Oh. Sweet as. Okay, so it's looking pretty clean. Actually, no, I won't need that. Okay, so we're going to wire up some of our RGB here. So we've got these Corsair RGBs, so they're a little bit different to the standard ones, the connections on them. But fortunately with our Corsair coolers, we've actually got these two. Oh no, that's the fans. Yeah, we've got these two here, which we can hook up these RGB devices to. And it also allows us to hook the fans up to it as well. This little header here, so the pump can be controlled by the motherboard. So we'll feed that back around. Alrighty, that's kind of like held together for now. This is our rear fan. Okay, so now just got these to deal with. We've got a fan and RGB. Okay, so
That 8-pin went in so easily, and now
there we go. Bastard.
okay, got a CPU power, a motherboard power, a USB 3 we've just got.
A graphics card. And these are the front panels. Very easy. So this is our audio. We can run this down. Our CPU power. Okay, now we've just got our front panel connectors. Alrighty, let's just tidy up these cables a bit. Alrighty, so we've just got our graphics card power connectors, and we are in business. So this is the moment everyone's been waiting for, the RTX 3090. Oh. There we go. Comes with a RGB bracket. Is that 12 volt? Alrighty. Is that an aux fan? Okay, interesting. Okay. Alrighty. So let's have a look at what we got here. Oh. Look at that bad boy. That has a solid cooling solution. Very good. Any weird features on this? Huh. So it has this little fan, obviously for like overclocking or something. So if you want to overclock it, you can clip in this extra fan. And where does that power on from? That powers on from up here. There we go, we'll run it with full performance, but that might be a pretty noisy fan, that might be why it's not on there permanently, but we've got it, let's hook it up. Okay, so we need slot 2 and 3. for our bracket. It'll go down here. But we won't be able to close the door. That's the only problem.
I don't know, maybe Adam can let me know whether he wants this one installed or not, or whether he wants access to these bottom slots. So, just let me know if you want it. It's obviously non-essential, it's just an extra that's been provided with this graphics card. Alright, everything's looking nice and neat around here. Alrighty. So there we go. One assembled computer. I'll still do a little bit more cable management with it, obviously, but we're pretty much good to go. Okay, let's connect my anti-static strap now. Alrighty. So let's hope this works. Okay, so I've changed my display over to the other computer, so now you should be seeing this. Alrighty, moment of truth time. Looking good. Very nice. That is what I like to see. Okay, so having a look here, we've got our XMP enabled. And we're just going to get out of that for now. Got our Windows installation media installed. Okay. So now we've got our Windows setup to complete. Not every computer place does this for customers. I'm just one of the nice ones. I actually set up Windows and install it and configure it for you and do stress and thermal tests on the computers and stuff that I build. Yeah, the full service with me. A bit quiet in the comments. Can't you hear me, Sam? Should be able to hear me.
But yeah, I have gone a bit quiet because no one's commenting. So I'm just building this on my own, and my wife's not even here with me at the moment. So it's very quiet. Normally, you know, there would be a bit of conversation and stuff going on, but yeah, not right now. Then Sam says, "No, I was just commenting back when you said it was a bit quiet in the comments. Just enjoying the ambience, mate. It's nice and relaxing watching the build. Just wondering, do I do Afterpay? Hopefully really soon. At the moment, I'm only set up for zip pay, but I'm hoping to get Afterpay because I tried applying not long after I started the business, and they were like, "Oh, no, not yet." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I'm going to reapply, and I'll see how we go, because I do get asked quite a bit for Afterpay. I definitely have zip pay though, so that's no problem. So you guys should have a nice clear view of the of the Windows screen and the installation now. Should be really, really clear for you, unlike the camera was. Call our account user. We'd never set a password because, you know, I don't want to get a phone call going, "Oh, what's the administrator password?" So if you ever buy a PC off me and it asks for a password you don't know, just press enter, because there's no password set. Alrighty. So now that we're in Windows, I'm going to plug in this old Cat 7 cable. And then we will be able to get all of our Windows updates and all of that stuff. So I'll need my trusty SSD. Plug that in like that. This might take several minutes. It won't take several minutes. Yeah, I think so, Sam. Like we part of Christine's upgrade that she did to her computer, which is our like streaming and like it's now going to be our video editing computer. We added a second capture card, so that's how I can do the two video feeds there. I can run them both, plus still have the audio going and stuff when I'm installing Windows. Alrighty, so Windows is on the internet. Let's get some updates. Let's clean up this stuff here. I always get rid of like some of this crap down here. Just clutters everything up. Well, let's get Cinebench R23 for our stress test. So you can just search R23 in the Microsoft Store, and it'll just come up. The second thing that comes up says Cinebench. Just download that. You can get it for free. You don't have to sign in with your Microsoft account. It will like try to get you to do it multiple times. Just exit out of it, and it will do its thing. Alrighty, so that's all being updated now as we speak. We don't need Xeon updates. Okay, so we can get so we'll get Dragon Center. Okay, now we'll go into our SSD now. We'll put down some custom icons to help keep the desktop organized. And then we can just go into setup. We can go and install some applications. Google Chrome. Crystal Disk Info. This is a app that will show you the status of your hard drives and SSDs. CPU-Z will tell us information about our CPU and the system. Crystal Disk Mark is for testing the speed of our storage devices. GeForce Experience, hardware monitor. Use this for our stress tests to make sure that everything's staying within acceptable parameters in terms of temperature. MSI Afterburner with Reva Tuner. There's our graphics card drivers. Oh, installation failed. Reva Tuner. Need any of that. Install Office, because I know Adam runs a small business, so he'll definitely probably want to use Office at some stage. Probably might not be on that computer, but we'll just install it anyway. It's handy to have there. Steam. Every gaming computer needs Steam. Crucial Storage Executive. How's Windows Update going? Alright. So we get Dragon Center going on and we're pretty much good for a reboot now. And so notice how I don't just restart the computer every time it asks for a reboot, because that just wastes a lot of time. The only thing about doing this that could potentially be a problem is if you do get some sort of a problem when you do go to restart it, that might mean that you have to then go and reinstall this stuff and do the same things again, because it'll just revert itself to the last known good configuration if something goes wrong. So that's the only risk with doing this. But I like to live dangerously. No, I understand the odds are very, very, very low. And if it does happen to me, I'm just going to cop it, because it's that much quicker than restarting every time it prompts you to restart. You just got to think about it and think about all the different things that you need to install and set up and go and take care of them before you restart. Get our date and time right. Darwin. Task Manager. So there's our 20 threads on this CPU. There's our memory running at 3200 megahertz. 4 slots used. Here's our main SSD. Removables. So our Ethernet, so network details. Yeah, so we've got 2.5 gigabit Ethernet here, but it's just plugged into a single gigabit router. So it's just going to show 1 gigabit here. If you have a faster router, you'd be able to see the full 2.5. And our graphics card here, not doing much at all. It's using some memory, but it's such a small amount of memory that it's not even displaying here because it's got 24 gigabytes of VRAM. Okay, so let's organize this stuff a bit. Game related things. And all these other applications. There we go. Well, I think I might just do a reboot now. Actually, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to enable Crucial's momentum caching software. It uses the RAM to speed up the SSD. There we go. Let's go to momentum cache down here. Enable momentum cache. Yes, it's going to reboot. So I'm just going to plug our regular hard drive in now. And so I never plug these in when we install Windows, because of just a strange quirk about how Windows installs itself. But so that's fine now. I've just connected that final hard drive, so we just have to go and set it up in Windows once it reboots. Okay, so to set up a new hard drive, we go into this PC. Up the top here we click Computer. We go down to Manage, and then it brings up this Computer Management window. We just select Disk Management, and we're going to make a GPT, so select OK. So now it's detected our drive. We've got this black bar at the top of it. So we're going to right click it. I'm going to click New Simple Volume. I'm just going to go with the defaults here. Can be whatever letter you want it to be. Call this storage drive, because that's, oh, that didn't type. There we go. Now when we go in there, we can see our new drive has been created. And if you're wondering, oh, but it says F, and that's my OCD's my OCD is doing my head in it. It should say C and then D. Well, now that we've disconnected the other USB devices, we can right click on it and go to properties, and we can go into, is it, oh, it doesn't let you do it through there. Okay, so if you can't do it through there, you can do it back in disk management. So we go back to disk management, and we take our F drive, we want to make it D. We can go to change drive letter and path, and we're going to go change, and we're going to select D. We go OK. It's going to give us this warning. We're going to go yep, because it's a blank drive. And so what it is if you change, say if you've got a program, right, that's trying to find, that's drawing information from that other drive, and you change the drive letter, then the address that it's going to look for those files is no longer going to be accurate, and that program won't work properly anymore unless you changed it back to F. But because there's nothing installed on it, you can just change it to whatever letter you want. It doesn't matter. No one's going to be looking for anything there, so it's not a factor. Alrighty, so that's our new drive setup. So we just need to get Dragon Center fired up here, so we need to run it as administrator. Start up, so we'll get all this stuff turned off. The rest of it can stay on. Alrighty, so let's have a look at CPU-Z and see how this thing performs. We'll also open up hardware monitor as well. So what we're doing now, this is kind of like a preliminary stress test. This will just tell me, based on the temperatures that I'm seeing, whether it's mounted correctly and that the cooler's making good contact and that the cooler's functioning properly. So I'm going to go down here to bench. I'm going to go to stress CPU. And it's hitting 100 degrees there, which I don't like. Could just be a tuning setting, because I found that Intel have these things tuned ridiculously high. So it's holding a 4.9 all cores. Okay. Alright, we're going to turn off game boost. I'm going to try that again. Because this is the settings that it was running, because we've got a Z490 and a K series chip. A lot of these things have some like auto overclocking features that just run it at those higher clock speeds. Okay. There we go. That's what I'm expecting to see from the CPU at stock. Very good. Its fans and pumps are working at full capacity now. Sweet. Okay, let's set up breather tuner. Okay, we'll configure our on-screen display. Okay, let's do some benchmarks. Let's have a look at 8K in superposition. So the figure just below RAM is the current frames per second. So just eating up 8K here. Hey Nick, how you going? Neil's here. Good to have you here, Neil.
Never ask a man how much his computer costs, and never ask a man how much his car costs. That's just a general rule. It can be asked, but it's got to be asked in private. You can't let the missus hear that. Hang on, I'm just going to the toilet. I'll be back. Alrighty. So we can see there our score, 4K, sorry, 8K rather. What about on low settings? Yeah, Nick, this is going to be powering a triple 34-inch 1440p racing sim. So, hence why the 3090 is definitely needed for this. We could hook a second 3090 up to this potentially, but I don't think you're going to need it. This will carve up your racing. So I'll just let it run through this benchmark, and then I'll probably start my like hour-and-a-half stress test that I do on it with the glass and back panel closed. I mean, I'm not seeing any issues with temperature and stuff like that. We had the spikes with game mode when we were trying some stress tests and stuff, but that's to be expected because gaming doesn't work a CPU that hard, not compared to the other tests that we do. So it's optimized itself around gaming workloads, and then I was putting a different sort of workload on it. Yeah, I guess it's kind of similar to mine. Smaller case. It's just a mid-tower case, so it's similar size to yours.
So yeah, Adam, you'll be able to pick this up later on this afternoon if you want. Probably from 4 o'clock I could have it ready. Provided no issues with the stress test. Okay.
There you go. Oh. Ah, good one. Solid effort.
Okay, so now we've got the glass back on. If you're noticing this error with Riva Tuner, I'll show you how to fix it right now. Okay? It's a little bit technical, but I'll show you right now. So you want to go to Start. You want to go down to Windows Accessories. You want to open Notepad, but you want to run as administrator. And then you want to go Open. And then you want to go This PC, Local Disk C, Program Files x86, Riva Tuner Statistics Server, and then it is Profiles, change to all files. No, sorry, it's not Profiles. Plugins, no. Profile Templates. That's it, Profile Templates. Go to Config, open Config up, and then this one down here, this value here, it says silent, value is 0. Just want to backspace that and make it a 1. And you just want to save that and exit. Now it's done. It's not going to do that when it opens up anymore. So let's begin our stress test. So I'll use Heaven here. Alrighty, so now we got that going. Open up Cinebench, get Cinebench going on. We'll open up Hardware Monitor and we'll log our temperatures. You know you got a powerful graphics card when the kinds of resolutions you normally use in a stress test just don't cut it anymore. did not like it when I tried to adjust that while it was running, because we're taxing the CPU most likely. There we go. Now she's nice and tanked. Memory and utilization at 100. Oh no, it's not memory utilization. Anyway, this is it. This just gets run for an hour and a bit continuously while I log the temperatures and stuff like that. Got the case all closed up, and this is basically representative of how it's going to be run. So I'm actually going to leave it here because I'm going to go get some lunch and I've got to go pick my wife up from work. But we'll be back this afternoon with some more live builds. So watch this space. Got a trade-in computer coming that we'll look over, and got some more stuff coming up. So stay tuned, and I'll see you then.